Hello, everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, when I woke up, I found myself lying on the cold ground of the wooden house. The broken pieces of mirror were still floating in the air, gradually falling down, turning into white dust, drifting in the darkness. Emily was no longer there, but I knew she had never really disappeared. I stood up, my head spinning, my heart pounding. Everything around me seemed to be breathing. The walls groaned. The ceiling shook with each beat of my heart. I rushed to the door. This time, the door opened easily. But what awaited me outside was not the rainy night forest, but an endless space. Before my eyes, a long stone path led to an ancient temple. The stone pillars were carved with strange characters, each letter trembling as if it was wriggling. I walked, each step echoing dozens of times. The sky was dark. There was no moon. Only a thick fog covered it. As I approached the temple, I could clearly hear whispers coming from inside. The sound was not one person, but hundreds, thousands of voices calling my name, drowning me in dizziness. The temple door opened. It was dark inside, but I still walked in as if hypnotized. In the middle of the main room, a giant mirror stood upright. The mirror surface was opaque, reflecting nothing but deep darkness. I trembled as I approached, my intuition telling me that this was the source of all curses. When I raised my hand to lightly touch the mirror surface, it suddenly lit up, and countless images appeared. I saw men in ancient costumes, one by one, being sucked into the mirror, screaming in vain. Next, I saw a woman with a pale face, dark eyes, and long, flowing hair. Without anyone saying anything, I knew that this was the prototype of Emily, the source of darkness. She approached the mirror surface, and strangely, the image looked straight at me, as if it could penetrate the boundaries of time. The voice echoed in my head, low and dark. "You're next." I jerked back, but my legs felt heavy, unable to move. The mirror glowed fiercely, the temple shook, and a cold wind blew. Invisible hands reached out from the mirror, trying to pull me in. I screamed, struggling, but the more I struggled, the tighter they held me in desperation. I remembered the notebook in the wooden house, the last note about ending the loop. I gathered all my strength, pulled the dagger I had brought from my pocket, and stabbed it into the stone floor. A blinding light erupted, the hands disappeared, the temple shook violently, and then fell silent. I collapsed, panting, drenched in sweat, but when I looked up, I was no longer in the temple. I was in my own house, sitting in the middle of the living room. Outside, the rain was pattering. The rain sounds echoed everywhere. The clock on the wall ticked, indicating midnight. I realized with a start that it could all be an illusion or a trip into the subconscious. But the familiar house was now unfamiliar. The frames on the wall were distorted, the wooden floor was cold, and most of all, Emily was sitting right across the chair. She was wearing an old white dress. Her hair was wet and sticky. Her eyes were dark. On her lips was a familiar, endless smile. I looked down at the floor. As always, there was no shadow at her feet. Emily stood up, walking slowly towards me. "You've gone too far," she whispered. Her voice echoed throughout the room, not just from her mouth, but from all four walls. From the mirror, from my own head. I stepped back, my heart about to burst. The house shook, darkness enveloped, leaving only Emily and I standing face to face. I understood that all roads led me back here, directly to her. There was nowhere to run, no forest or temple. All that remained was this house, where the curse had trapped me. In that moment, I wondered if I had the courage to end the cycle. I knew the price would be terrible, but if I didn't, I would forever be a trapped soul, an invisible shadow in the mirrors. And Emily, or the entity that took the form of that woman, would continue to seek out other victims, spreading terror until the end. I clenched my fists, trying to regain my composure, but Emily's eyes kept digging, pulling me into the abyss. Space seemed to be torn apart. Hundreds of images of my face appeared around the room, all screaming silently. I stood in the middle of the nightmare, knowing that the final choice was approaching. Watch the next episode to see what I decided when I faced Emily face to face in this cursed house.